Just when we thought UFC 303 was cooked, it's been saved. Alex Pereira is putting his title on the line on 2 weeks' notice to face Jiri Prochazka. And I know that some people don't love that matchup, but here's what I'm going to say. Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira is never a bad idea. All right, if you're going to sit here and complain about that fight, that stylistic matchup, I'm questioning as to whether or not you're a real MMA fan. I understand that the short notice thing could be a little bit annoying. I understand that we know what the results were last time, but I'll talk to you guys about why that fight's so great. We don't only have that, we got the return of Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is stepping in for Jamal Hill. That fight was originally supposed to be Jamal Hill versus Roundtree. Now it's Anthony Smith versus Carlos Ulberg. But I love that fight, not only because Anthony Smith always brings the heat. Anthony Smith is always bringing the drama on Fight Week, but now he's going to be on the same stage as Alex Pereira at the UFC 303 press conference. And those guys, they don't like each other, right? Pereira is always patronizing Smith, looking down on him. And Anthony Smith, he thinks, him and Alex Pereira have the greatest rivalry in the UFC since DC and John Jones. I love the fact that Anthony Smith is stepping in for Jamal Hill. And, of course, we have Brian Ortega and Diego Lopes. We still have Ian Gary and MVP. We still have Joe Pyfer and Marc-Andre Barriou. We still have Peyton Talbot versus whoever the heck he's fighting. My only question, Dana White, is what the heck is this doing on the main card? That's my only question. Because this new card, it actually saved the day. Don't get me wrong. I understand that a McGregor fight week is different, but this card is just more stacked. This is a more hardcore friendly card. Because Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, it most likely would have just been one round. And I know that's something that could be the case with an Alex Pereira fight as well at light heavyweight when both guys have KO power. But Conor McGregor would have went out there and gotten like a 40-second anticlimactic KO, or Michael Chandler would have dusted him and won. And, two old geezers, two guys are a little bit washed. Now we have the most exciting stylistic matchup you could possibly make every single time in the light heavyweight division. Again, I'm going to talk about the people that are complaining about this. And we have Anthony Smith. I get it. The fat cat isn't going to be on Embedded. I get it. McGregor fight weeks are different. They're trying to push that back to August. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that fight's happening anymore. It might. I hope it does. I want to see it. But don't be surprised if McGregor is just trying to get out of a Michael Chandler fight, right? That's kind of what I'm starting to think. Maybe he just don't want the smoke with Chandler. And we'll talk about that at the end of this video. But let's talk about how great this card is. All right? I understand that Alex Pereira finished Jiri Prochazka last November. I know this is a rematch, and I know that these are the sort of fights where you want both guys at their best. But Alex Pereira is one of these guys that's always in the gym. He's not a guy that goes out and parties, and he's not someone that takes a long time off. I mean, he's got that kickboxer mindset, fight every other month. That's basically Alex Pereira. And we got to give this guy his respect because, yes, Yuri's also taking this on short notice, but Alex is the one that's putting his belt on the line against a guy that he's already beat. And a lot of people would say, I don't need to beat this guy again. I don't want to fight Jiri again. All right, maybe on a full training camp if he gets another win. But the fact that Alex is putting his belt on the line to save International Fight Week, I mean, we got to start talking about this guy being the most valuable fighter in the UFC right now. McGregor's not around. He's not active. Adesanya's been inactive. Makhachev, he's up there. But Alex Pereira's activity, the fact that he's been saving event after event after event, I mean, he fought last November, won the title against Jiri, saved UFC 300. I mean, I know that it doesn't really seem like that was a short notice fight in hindsight, but they kind of put that together at the last second. We know that they were planning McGregor versus Chandler for 300. Pereira stepped up. So he headlined UFC 300. He headlined those fights against Izzy. He headlined Madison Square Garden. Now he's saving the day for 303. This is the guy. Alex Pereira is the new face of the UFC. Straight up. With all of these big opportunities, with how game he is to fight anyone, anytime, any place, you got to respect it, man. If you're not an Alex Pereira fan, then there's something wrong with you, all right? You don't have to be a fan of him. Maybe you're not a Adesanya fan and you're still salty about what happened, but, and I know they're going to be in the comments saying, what do you mean salty about what happened? You knocked him out. But you get what I'm saying, all right? How can you not be an Alex Pereira fan at this point? But I just don't understand why people are complaining about this matchup. Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira is the matchup that people were saying is the Mortal Kombat fight in real life, right? That's the sickest stare down we've ever seen that both of those guys had in the cage. I know some old heads are going to bring up Takayama and Takanami Gori and all these other guys, and they're going to bring up the Axe Murderer and Crow Cop, but those stare downs were like 10 seconds each. This was like a 5-minute stare down. We're seeing that again. And this time, Jiri Prochazka, I know we just had like a war with Alexander Rakic, and I'm going to talk about who I'm going to pick in this fight in a little bit, but Jiri Prochazka, I feel, is going to be even more prepared for this because we know Jiri, he's only training. That's the only thing that he does. Apparently, he was banged up going into that last fight. That was his comeback after a long layoff. He was probably a little bit rusty with that horrible shoulder injury that he had. I think this is going to be a better Jiri Prochazka, and I like the fact that Alex Pereira is staying active. He's 36. He's not getting any younger, and took no damage against Jamal Hill. I know he's got a couple of broken toes. That's what people are saying, but a couple of broken toes. Who gives a fuck about a couple of broken toes? All right? He's still going to be able to chop at the legs of Jiri, and he's looking to be the most powerful he's ever been. He looks way bigger today than he did when he made his UFC light heavyweight debut. It is a dangerous fight because, again, we got to take this into the equation, and I'm going to give you guys my early prediction. The question is, will Alex Pereira have Mark Goddard on his side? Because if he has Mark Goddard on his side, then you got to ask yourself, well, he might be able to land that left hook on a guy like Jiri, who kind of leaves his chin on a silver platter at times. Jiri leaves his hands down after he throws punches, and we saw what happened last time. He got dropped. The question is, will Alex Pereira drop Jiri Prochazka with a guy like Mark Goddard or Jason Herzog in there? I know Jason Herzog hasn't messed up that much throughout his career, but he had the most recent screw-up. And I'm serious. I'm actually worried that Mark Goddard's going to be in the cage. That's the only thing I dislike about this potential matchup is there's a chance that it could be ruined by an early stoppage. You got to let Jiri Prochazka go out. We have to get the info to Mark Goddard in case he's repping this fight. And I'm not even coping. I'm just saying it in general. Alex Pereira could get an early stoppage. I could definitely see him dropping Jiri. My question is, if Mark Goddard isn't in the cage, he's going to have to put Jiri out cold. Okay? I do think, and I've been saying this for a while, that the only person I'm picking to beat Jiri Prochazka is this current version of Alex Pereira, who's firing on all cylinders, who's fully grown into the 205-pound weight class, right? He's like actually a big light heavyweight rather than just a middleweight carrying around fat right now, who's in that awkward phase when he fought Jan Blachowicz, and even when he fought Jiri Prochazka. Pereira was dwarfing Jamal Hill, and Jamal Hill isn't really a small light heavyweight. So he's massive nowadays. His power seems to be the best it's ever been. Dude, I think that he's the only guy that I will ever pick to beat Jiri Prochazka because both of these guys are aura maxers. All right? Alex Pereira's career seems to be too perfect right now, but we know Jiri Prochazka has that holy martial arts ghost. The thing is, I think it was pretty self-evident in their last fight that Pereira, and this is no surprise, is just the much more technical kickboxer. All right, the leg kicks are OP. His distance management is amazing. His chin at light heavyweight, it's no longer something that we're going to worry about. I know he got knocked out a couple times at middleweight. His chin is completely buffed up at light heavyweight. I'm going to pick Alex Pereira to win this fight, but if he doesn't put Jiri out cold, I think Yuri's going to knock him out in the later rounds. Because I think this version of Jiri is going to be the better version that Alex Pereira is fighting. But I can't pick against Alex Pereira. His power at 205 is insane. Like his distance management, his leg kicks. I mean, Rakic is lighting up Jiri Prochazka in the first round. Jiri also took a lot of damage in that fight. And even though he didn't get dropped, even though he didn't get knocked out, he did take a lot of concussive blows. And I think that's maybe going to soften up his chin a little bit for Alex Pereira to land that left hook. And, you know, Jiri Prochazka is one of these guys where he doesn't fight Alex Pereira, that chin is going to last a long time. But now he's fighting Pereira for the second time in under a calendar year. So that worries me a little bit. I will be picking Pereira. I think he is going to get this one done by a TKO. Maybe Jiri gets slumped out, but if Jiri Prochazka can survive the first couple of rounds, if he gets dropped and he survives and the ref lets him tough it out, I think that he can definitely get a TKO in the later rounds. We know that Jiri Prochazka just finds a way to win. You're going to have to put this guy out cold. Let's talk about some of these other fights. Anthony Smith and Carlos Ulberg. I'm happy that Jamahal Hill pulled out because, listen, I kind of want to see Jamahal Hill win his next fight. At the same time, it would have been interesting to see him get slept, to see what his reaction would be, how he would cope that one out. But I don't think it was a good idea for him to turn around that quickly anyway. Now we got Anthony Smith coming off of a good win, and he's fighting Carlos Ulberg. I am going to pick Carlos Ulberg. I think Ulberg's going to beat his ass. All right. He's a lot slicker on the feet than Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith got a guillotine over a guy that just kind of threw himself into one. He's not got the best wrestling. He's definitely the worst striker. So I'm going to pick Ulberg, but I'm excited to see Anthony Smith and Alex Pereira have some interactions. Maybe they'll squash the beef, but either way, I'm looking forward to a couple of interactions. I'm looking forward to a couple of moments at the press conference. They better have Anthony Smith on stage at the press conference, but I'm happy that Smith is there because Smith always brings the eyes on fight week. And I even saw a comment from someone that was saying, what the heck is Smith doing here? Bro, get over it. Anthony Smith is a hardcore fan's favorite. Even if people hate on him, even if people critique him, we still watch Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, underratedly entertaining, really good addition to this card. Brian Ortega and Diego Lopes. I remember a time where Ortega was never fighting, and we thought that this man was totally done, totally retired. This is his second fight this year, and he's even taken this on short notice against a monster in Diego Lopes. I will be picking Diego Lopes, though. I think that although Brian Ortega's crafty, and he's been around for a minute, and he's definitely going to do well on the ground in this fight, he did get dropped twice against Yair Rodriguez for the first time ever, and I think that's an indication that the damage is starting to pile up. And Diego Lopes, although he doesn't have that same rangy, quick twitch ability with any limb, a leg, an elbow, spinning attacks like Yair Rodriguez, he's got like really sharp and powerful, tight punches in the pocket. And Ortega is a guy that basically walks into the pocket like a zombie, tries to get his hands on you to go for like a trip or a body lock takedown. And I just think that Diego Lopes is going to be really strong in there. He's going to be bigger than Brian Ortega. He's going to have a frame advantage. He's not going to be afraid to go to the ground. And I think he's going to stuff the takedowns effortlessly if Ortega shoots them, at least early on. And I think that he's just going to catch Ortega coming in. I think he's going to drop Ortega with a nasty uppercut. Because even though you could make the argument that Yusuf, the guy that he put out in the first round on UFC 300, was a little bit chinny, and Pat Sabatini is basically a bantamweight, I still think that Diego Lopes has some like ridiculous power, right? I mean, he's just a massive featherweight. I think he's going to put away Brian Ortega, and I'm trusting in his momentum to win this fight, but I won't be surprised if Ortega can pull it off, but I'm leaning towards Diego Lopes. Now let's talk about McGregor versus Chandler as I close out this video. By the way, UFC 303 is saved. Okay, we had Chandler versus McGregor, which is two old heads going at each other. And we had a quick turnaround Jamahal Hill, who shouldn't be fighting 2 months after he got knocked out. Instead, we have Alex Pereira, Jiri Prochazka, one of the best stylistic matchups you could possibly ever make. I don't know how the fuck people can complain about that. And also, I forgot to mention this. Just because Alex Pereira got the TKO last time does not mean the result is going to be the same. I'm not even saying Alex won't win this time. I'm just saying it could be a completely different fight. It could be more competitive. It could be more of a war. I just don't understand why people wouldn't be dying to see that as often as possible. And at least Jiri has a win in between. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Pereira is the fan favorite and no one wants him to risk, losing his belt on short notice. I totally understand that. But dude, Pereira is always ready, man. He's super durable. He's in a weight class where he's not going to get chinned easily. He's got that kickboxer mentality. He's going to do just fine. He's one of these guys that does well when he's active. So I like this from Alex Pereira. I think that Conor McGregor, let's get on to Conor. I don't think Conor wants the smoke with Michael Chandler. And I think that what we are going to see, my prediction is that Conor McGregor, who's probably injured right now, is going to look for a new opponent because the UFC is trying to book them for August 29th. I think there are going to be more complications. I do not expect the UFC announcement of McGregor versus Chandler. I don't think they're going to take that same risk and announce this unless they know for sure McGregor's really in and he's healthy and he's ready to go. Because at this, you can't pull another one over the fans. I'm not saying they tried to pull one over on us. I think that for the last 2 months, McGregor versus Chandler was set to happen. McGregor was interested up until that Dublin press conference where he may have gotten injured. Then things got weird. But right now, I don't think the UFC is going to announce anything soon. I think they're going to prolong it. And I think McGregor is going to try to wait out Michael Chandler so that he gets another fight. I think he's going to wait for Chandler to accept a fight with another opponent when he's totally fed up. Maybe he's so delusional to the point to where he's just banking on McGregor to fight him, and he thinks that it's definitely going to happen. But a part of me thinks that McGregor doesn't want to fight Michael Chandler anymore. And you got to think about why. You lose to Dustin Poirier, you get caught by a jab and a tight left hook. Or a nice lead right hook, right? Nice finesseful combination and you're out. Doesn't hurt that much, right? A couple of calf kicks, you're done. Michael Chandler squashes people like bugs. Michael Chandler is going to plant a big bomb on McGregor and drop him like a sack of potatoes and squash him into the canvas and uppercut him like Yoel Romero did to Luke Rockhold. Michael Chandler's calf kicks are going to buckle McGregor around the octagon. It's going to have him looking like a pilgrim. All right? Chandler's way of winning is like Emmett's way of winning. You could get face planted into the fucking canvas and have an aneurysm like Bryce Mitchell did against Josh Emmett. That's the issue. I don't think McGregor wants to lose to a guy like that. Because Chandler's like the opposite of what McGregor is at this point. He's the direct opposite. Always in the gym. Always training. Clean lifestyle. Professional. Never going to pull out. McGregor is starting to feel the pressure. He's starting to understand, wait a second, I don't want that smoke. Maybe I want gritty old DP and his boxing again because DP's already got one foot out of the game. But Chandler feels like he's 20 again. Chandler's feeling like he's about to have his first ever UFC fight. All the injuries are evaporated. Michael Chandler has reverse aged in this training camp. That's how much pep in his step he's got for Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, he's gotten another injury. All right? We got to talk about that too. Not only did Conor McGregor have one of the most horrific injuries in UFC history, now he's injured again. You got to think about what that injury could be. It might have to do with the same leg that's been compromised. And this is another reason why I would never pick Conor McGregor in his comeback. And people need to understand. I hear Dan Hardy mentioning Conor McGregor like he's going to play Michael Chandler like an instrument on the feet. Like he's always a master distance management with no legs at this point. He's an old man. His body's failing him. Darren Till's body failed him at the end of his career. It's kind of sad because he was only in his late 20s, early 30s, but Darren Till's injuries were caused by him being out of shape going into his training camp. Not taking his career seriously, training throughout the year, doing physical therapy often, not stretching enough. I mean, there's a million things that could possibly cause it, but that's probably what's happening to McGregor. He's not been taking his training seriously. He just rushed into a training camp after doing a whole movie press tour, drinking, snorting lines. We saw that McGregor was hopped up off of some drugs during that press tour. Just treating his body like crap. At the Black Forge Inn, partying his ass off. Now he's rushing into a training camp, but he's getting injured because he's going into these camps out of shape. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. And I hope that he can recover. I hope that he can get healthy. And I want to see him fight again. But I'm just letting you guys know, do not expect a win from McGregor. All right, I know the McGregor fans want to see him win, but I just don't know if he can land that left anymore as easily, right? It's going to be difficult. And it's better when you have a favorite fighter to have your expectations a little bit lower so that if they lose, it softens the blow. All right? I want McGregor to come back. I don't think he wants to fight Chandler. I think Chandler squashes people like bugs. He's beatable. He doesn't have a great fight IQ. But the way you lose to Chandler is the most embarrassing way ever. Okay? You lose to, Justin Gaethje hits a couple Gaethje grunts on you and TKOs you up against the fence. You know what I mean? You lose to Dustin Poirier, it's a nice, crispy, finesseful jab, lead hook, little body shot, little pepper shot to the body, and you're done up against the fence, man. You're all good. Chandler squashes people like Emmett. All right? It's a different level of KO. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the new card. I absolutely love the fact that UFC 303 is saved. Until next time.